guests, please silence any electronic devices and remain seated throughout the entire presentation. If you need to leave at any time, please exit at the top of the amphitheater. Thank you and enjoy Journey into the Wild.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to Benbough Amphitheater.
Yeah, we're excited to see you all.
My name is Shella.
And I'm Adam, and we're wildlife care specialists here at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park.
San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance is committed to saving species worldwide by uniting our expertise in wildlife care and conservation science with our dedication to inspiring a passion for nature.
That's right, we integrate wildlife health and care, science and education to develop sustainable conservation solutions around the world, like in the Amazon with our scarlet ibises. Scarlet ibises love to live around the waterways and dabble for some of their favorite foods.
They do commonly get mistaken for baby flamingos. They're completely different species, but they get their color the same way flamingos do, which is from their food.
Our conservation work is actually focused in 8 conservation hubs on 6 continents. These are regions where our alliance can make the greatest impact.
We believe that conservation starts with the connections we have with people and wildlife every day. So today we would love to introduce you to wildlife from 3 of these geographic areas.
Absolutely. We want to share some of the amazing conservation work going on here at the Safari Park and around the globe. So check it out.
The world is changing, and so is the way we live with wildlife. At the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, we're leading that charge. Inspiring change and fueling conservation around the globe. Our work is focused across 8 regions called conservation hubs, like the African forest, Amazonia, the Asian rainforest, along the Pacific Islands, the Australian forest, the savanna, in the ocean, and right in our own backyard, the Southwest. Your visit today supports these conservation miracles for wildlife worldwide. Like with the California condor, who became extinct in the wild in 1983, before the safari park helped grow their numbers back to over 500. Or Edward, the first southern white rhino born through artificial insemination in North America. So join us today for incredible stories. Meet some of your favorite animals as we journey into the wild.
What a beautiful and colorful start to our journey into the wild. Please join us in welcoming our macaw flock. Over here is Charlie, and over on your left-hand side is Cusco. Macaws are an important part of the Amazonian rainforest. First of all, their color is absolutely beautiful, but it does help blend in to the greenery of the forest and also some of the bright and vibrant flowers and fruits that they might munch on. We're joined by Quito here in the center, and Quito is showing off one of the macaw's greatest adaptations, which is working like a multi-tool. Quito is showing off the use of a zygodactylus foot structure, meaning 2 toes in the front and 2 toes in the back, which is great for gripping. He's holding on to a large nut there, and all of our macaws use that very strong beak to crunch into tough food items like nuts, seeds, and even large fruits as well. They're quite messy, which for the human world isn't usually a positive thing, but in the natural world, being messy has its benefits. When macaws make a huge mess of all the fruit mess and seeds that fall to the ground, or when they digest some of their food and it comes out the other end, what all that does is help promote the growth of the same trees and plants that macaws rely on for food, and shelter, especially shelter when it comes to nesting in cavities or in trees, just like Quito is peeking his head in to do. Now, an important way that we can save macaws and their habitats is by shopping smart. If you've ever seen a tree logo on any of your paper products, it's called the FSC logo, the Forestry Stewardship Council logo, and it means that those products were harvested in a safe way, protecting wildlife like our macaws. Give it up for our beautiful macaw flock.
Yeah, in Amazonia there's so much life living at so many different levels. We work with all sorts of different wildlife, like jaguars, Andean bears, and even wildlife like the Toco toucan, who's coming up to join us right now. Please welcome Fruta. Now, like her name suggests, she loves fruit. It's actually one of their primary food sources, but they're going to be eating so many different things out there. Whether they can find bugs or small snakes that they can swallow, they're going to use that very large bill to manipulate their environment and hopefully find nice, tasty things to eat. But they are absolutely agile flyers, like Fruta's going to show off to us now. She actually just caught a piece of grape right out of the air. And that piece of grape is not just flying around in the Amazon. What they're actually going to do is work as a team, as a couple of Toco toucans are going to work together to toss those grapes back and forth and strengthen the bond of their relationship. So you guys are all part of Fruta's flock now. Toucans actually live in flocks of up to about 22 birds, so they like to have a large group around. They're pretty gregarious. But she's showing off that bright, bright bill. Can you guys imagine trying to catch a grape out of the air with just the tips of your fingers? That's basically what Fruta is doing as she catches those grapes out. And when she's working in her environment, that bill might be a little bit hard to work around, but it actually has a lot of very important benefits for her. It's actually filled with capillaries, little blood vessels, all the way up the length of it. So it actually pumps blood in or out, depending on whether she needs to warm up or if she needs to cool down. She's going to use those blood vessels in there to help make sure she stays nice and comfortable in the hot and humid Amazon rainforest. There we go, showing off those very low flights that they do between branches. They don't like to live way up high in the canopies of the trees. They actually tend to stay right in the middle, just above the understory. And they're going to use their wings to cover up that bright, bright bill when they're looking for a place to roost for the night. They actually have a really interesting way of building their nests, just like our macaws. They also like to look for cavities, but once they find a suitable cavity, the female will actually pack herself in using mud to block up the entrance and make sure that nothing else but the male's beak could fit inside to feed her and the chicks until they're ready to head on out and fledge and join the rest of the Amazon rainforests. Let's hear it for Fruta. If y'all are wondering what you can do to help other wildlife in the Amazon, there's actually something really simple you can do to help Toco toucans just like Fruta. Actually, if you guys just recycle your aluminum cans, aluminum is mined in the forests of the Amazon. And just by recycling one can, you can help save 2 cans.
Thanks for laughing at Adam's joke.
Oh my gosh, Jackson!
Looks like we've been joined by another Amazonian friend. This is Coatis, the southern tamandua. They also are known as lesser anteaters, not because we think anything less of them, just because they're smaller than their cousins, the giant anteaters. But what all anteaters have in common are special adaptations to help them maximize their bug catching potential. As their name suggests, they eat ants and other worms and small bugs. So Tatis here is putting some of those adaptations into practice. First, he has got large claws that would help him break open a hole into a termite mound or anthill, just big enough to let in a 16-inch skinny tongue. Now, for my adults in the audience, take a look at your forearm. And this distance from your elbow to your wrist is going to be around 16 inches. It's coated in a sticky saliva and has tiny barbs all over it, really helping him grab as many as he can. That sticky saliva makes sure that all those bugs he's lapping up actually stay in his very small mouth. And the final tool he'll use to help himself balance is that semi-prehensile tail. It's bold at the end, meaning that it has great grip and he can hold on to the side of the termite mound here without any problem. Now, you may be wondering, how can an anteater know how many bugs are too many bugs? Now, they can eat 9,000 ants in a single day, but we're not going to see Coatis sit here and eat 9,000 right here and right now. So what he'll do is eat a little bit from one bug mound, and as he finishes, he will scent mark that bug mound. They have a scent that can be 5 times stronger than a skunk. He'll head around the corner to the next bug mound, and he knows he's given those bugs enough time to repopulate and regrow once his scent has gone away. It looks like Coatis is looking for his next bug mound. That was a beautiful look at Coatis the southern tamandua. Now next, we have a 2-for-1 special. So we're going to be meeting 2 species that are partially related and have a very similar way of defending themselves. Now, in the animal world, if you see something sharp and pokey, are you going toward it? No, you're usually going the other way unless you're looking for a little bit of a challenge. So, out in their environment, porcupines are known to defend themselves very well. They'll use their quills to deter any potential predators. But there are plenty of different types of porcupines all around the world. We do find porcupines in Africa and in South America. So in this part of our journey, we'll be making 2 stops along the way. Joining us on the hillside is Harley Quill. And Harley Quill is an African Cape porcupine. Now these are usually the porcupines most people are familiar with. They have long quills. And Harley Quill is going to use a couple of tools before she gets to the thick quills. We're also joined by Uno, the prehensile tail porcupine, back here. Now, if Harley is approached by a predator, she's going to try and ward off that predator. Just like Uno as well, coming from South America, both of these porcupines can raise their quills, making them look a lot bigger and potentially a lot tougher than they really are. But the difference here is that Uno only has 1 length of quill. So once he raises his quills, if that does not deter a predator, he's going to use the treetops as his escape. He's an agile climber. He's got a beautiful long tail, just like Coatis does, to help him navigate the forest. But Harley Quill here does not have that adaptation. Instead, if those long quills do not deter a predator because of their size, she will use quills at the base of her tail called rattle quills. When she shakes her tail, it sounds like the universal sound of danger. If we're local to San Diego and we hear that rattle, which way are we going? Toward it or away?
Away.
Away. Again, unless you're looking for a little bit of a challenge. And again, if none of those factors ward off predators like lions or hyenas in her environment, then she'll turn toward them, run toward a predator, and stick them with her quills. Now let me ask, who has heard the myth that porcupines can shoot their quills? I've absolutely heard that. It's just a myth, luckily, but where that myth comes from is when a porcupine gets straight into a predator's skin with those thick quills. Uno here would do the exact same thing, running into a predator, sticking them with the quills, and as the porcupines make their way away from the threat, those quills stay in a predator while they run off with a couple less quills than they started their day off with. Now, a couple of differences between our different types of porcupines. The prehensile tail porcupine, again, much safer high up in the trees and adapted for safety up there. Our burrowing porcupines here are going to be much better at digging. So, Harley Quill has some excellent strong nails that help her dig down into the ground. They do have intricate burrow systems like other rodents, and that helps them escape from potential threats. Now, if they really are being followed by predators, once they get into that burrow, all they'll leave behind sticking out are those exceptionally sharp quills. And most often, predators are not looking for that kind of challenge. That was a beautiful look at 2 of our porcupine wildlife ambassadors.
I'd love to share a conservation success story with all of you today. Now, back in the 1970s, there was a species here in California that was going extinct. It was actually right on the brink. So we collected all 22 of those California condors, and we brought them into managed care facilities like here at the safari park. And we looked at the Andean condors, their southern cousins, for information on how we could help provide them with all sorts of different things they needed to make sure their habitats were nice and healthy. And we today have over 500 California condors here in California again. So we are so proud to have an Andean condor who's going to be coming out to join us in just a second. So please welcome Califia, the Andean condor. Now, Andean condors use all the same adaptations California condors do, so that's why they were so important for us to look into, to make sure that we had happy, healthy, successful habitats for our California condors. They use those large, broad wings to soar through the skies. And once they find something dead, laying around for them to get a nice tasty snack on, they're just gonna eat what they can and then take off again to wherever the next meal might come from. They actually live in pretty large groups, and sometimes they'll gather in the hundreds when there's a large carcass around or a large piece of carrion for them. So that's why we're so glad to have vultures around. Because they eat those dead things, because they eat the carrion that other wildlife leaves behind, they actually help take diseases out of our habitats, out of our own backyards. They eat things that can have botulism, rabies, leprosy, all sorts of different diseases and parasites that could be impactful to us, our pets, our families. So we're really glad to have vultures and condors in our own backyard. So if you guys are looking for something you can do today to help out our vultures and condors, there's actually one really simple thing you guys can do. Just head on home and tell one friend about how amazing our Andean condor Califia was. And hopefully they'll start to love condors and vultures as well. So let's hear it for Califia and our California condors on the Condor Bridge. Now we have another species from Amazonia coming out to join us, but these guys also range all over the place here up to the southwest. They're also found on the islands in the Caribbean, so they have a really broad range and a lot of different adaptations. They're very good opportunists, kind of like the vultures. They have a special set of skills that they use to find their foods, and they're going to basically take whatever chances they can get to get their foods. Please welcome Riley, our white-nosed coati. Now coatis, when you look at him, you might think, oh, is that just a really stretched out raccoon? You wouldn't be far off. They're in the same family as the raccoon. So he's got that nice striped tail, he's got that mask across his face, letting other wildlife know that he has a very special role. That's the middle mammal in a lot of different habitats. He's going to eat basically anything he can find. So if he is on the ground or by a river and he finds a fish or a crab, he's going to be eating fish or crab. If he climbs up into a tree and finds a bird nest, maybe there'll be some eggs for him to eat. Or a nice tasty bird if he gets lucky. But he's going to use those adaptations, his very strong paws, his dexterous little hands up there, to grab whatever food he can and hopefully hold on and chew it down. They actually have a very special adaptation, a special way of hunting things like scorpions or crabs. They're actually going to put their big broad paws on top of them and just sort of roll them back and forth. And as they're rolling them back and forth, the pincers will pop off, the tail will pop off, and hopefully they get a nice tasty snack that they can take on their very way. Like I said, opportunist, he found some food left behind some of our other wildlife. He's like, ooh, that's a good sweet potato right there. Now, they're very agile. They're going to be ranging all over the place, but coatis, for a long time, are thought to be two separate species because the females and the young live in large groups of up to about 30 individuals. Whereas male coatis will live in groups of just one male coati all by himself ranging around. So they thought they must be two separate species. And that's where the name coatimundi comes from. That was the name they gave the male coatis. In the native South American languages, that actually means lone coati. So they thought there were two very separate species living in very different ways. Let's hear it for Wiley as he heads off on another activity.
Yeah. I think I'm seeing our next ambassador over here.
They must have been sneaking out while we were talking.
Oops. All right, sorry everybody. Our next wildlife ambassador. We're going really slow. It's Fakey the Snakey!
Is that real?
Fakey the Snakey is not our next ambassador, but he will be helping us show off a very unique adaptation of a reptile hunting specialist. Now, years ago, there was an ancient bird called a terror bird, and it stood almost 10 feet tall. It hunted early humans. We're about to meet its descendant. See around the corner? That's just Paolo. Paolo is the descendant of the terror bird. He is a red-legged serama. Now, being a reptile hunting specialist means you've got to be really careful, when you're working with your food. So, what a red-legged serama will do is approach a snake, sometimes a venomous snake. You're gonna pick it up, shake it around, try to disorient it a little, and when he's ready, he's going to break up all the bones inside of that reptile, making it much easier to swallow whole. That was an excellent slam from Paolo, the reptile hunting specialist.
Welcome to San Diego, right? Now, these guys aren't usually found in the Amazon rainforest, but what they're going to be doing is living on the very edges of the Amazon River, because there's a nice big wetland all the way around. So they're going to be looking in those grasslands, in those wetlands, for where they can find their next meal. And those snakes, those lizards, they don't even know what's coming, because these guys can run up to about 30 miles an hour. Very, very fast as they're coming along to look for their next tasty meal. So we're going to be heading up to our southwest hub now. We're going to be joined by another aerial predator. But before we get started, I'd like to have y'all look right up to the top of our rock just above the sign. We're going to be launching a lure, a leather tassel from the top of that sign, and hopefully our next wildlife ambassador will be able to catch it. These guys are very, very agile, very aerodynamic. We want to show off just how amazing they are at using their talents to find their food. So please welcome from the hillside, Spike, the Harris's hawk. Harris's hawks are so unique and adaptable. They actually work as a team to find their food. Flocks of to about 6 birds have earned the name the wolves of the sky. So let's see if Spike and I can go hunting today.
That was an excellent catch from Spike. If you blinked, you might have missed it. Now, Adam mentioned how unique Harris's hawks are when it comes to hunting. In those large groups, they've been given the nicknames the wolves of the sky because of that unusual social nature in capturing their food. Raptors do have plenty of natural adaptations that help them be as agile as Spike is in the air, catching birds mid-flight and sometimes some of the largest prey like full-grown turkeys and jackrabbits. Spike here uses exceptionally great vision, strong, powerful legs, and very sharp talons to help grab his prey. Now, occasionally, you may see Harris's hawks in their native environment doing a behavior called backstacking. Just like Spike is doing here, he wants the best vantage point of his environment to find his prey. Now, what backstacking looks like for Harris's hawks is exactly what it sounds like. They'll stack one bird on top of the other in order to get a better view from a higher vantage point without having to fly and do so. Now, the other thing that Harris hawks are great at are using their native environment to help as well. You can commonly find Harris's hawks on saguaro cactuses, which are cactuses that take quite a while to grow. It may take up to 10 years for a saguaro cactus to get 3 feet tall, and another additional 25 years to grow their first arm. It's a long time for these cactus to develop. And because of how important they are to Harris hawks and their ability to fly and navigate their landscapes, it's important that we protect not only the wildlife in these habitats, but also the plant life. Give it up for Spike the Harris's hawk. Now, how do they like seeing an aerial predator in action? It's pretty cool. Are you ready to meet another aerial predator?
Yes.
Alrighty, we're going to be meeting one from our African Savanna Conservation Hub, where we're lucky to work with iconic species like elephants, rhinos, and giraffe, but we can't forget about our feathered friends. Please welcome Thatcher, the Milky Eagle Owl.
Milky eagle owls are actually one of the apex predators of the skies in the African savanna. They're going to be using their amazing adaptations that sell those soft feathers and their big facial discs to help channel all the sound back to their ears. These guys have such an amazing set of superpowers that they use to find those pieces of food. And like I said, they are apex predators, so they're going to be going after pretty much any kind of wildlife that they can get their talents around. These have pretty big feet, so that will include mice, rats, snakes, lizards, pretty much anything that is on the menu if we can hear it moving. Now we're all going to hold our breath here as Thatcher makes his next flight, and hopefully we'll all get to see the superpower of the sound of silence as he heads on over. Of course, he's got to check out his environment first. They actually still have very amazing eyesight, even though they are nighttime hunters. There's still a lot of light in the forests. Okay, here we go. Hold our breath.
Now, besides the oohing and awing, did we hear much? No, and that's the power of silent flight. So, rodents have a lot to look out for when it comes to milky eagle owls, Thatcher. Now, milky eagle owls get their name because of the beautiful color of their eyelids. They have no feathers up there, and males have brightly colored eyelids that they can actually change to a very dark purple, almost black color as an attempt to attract a mate. Milky eagle owls are an important part of their ecosystem. In the African savannas, they have the important role of natural pest control. Just like our local rodent eaters and bug eaters, it is exceptionally important that we support the role that those pest controlling species hold. Because without owls like Thatcher in Africa, or without our local owls like our burrowing owls and our barn owls and plenty of other species, we might be waist deep in rodents. It's not quite the environment we want to maintain. And not to mention, all of that rodent population can have a pretty harmful effect on the vegetation and plant life in those environments as well. Now, we mentioned how owls are sit-and-wait predators. They're listening for their prey. They're looking out for their prey as well. And they want to make sure everything in their environment is perfect for the quietest and most successful swoop down into their environment. We've got some wind here. So wind also plays an important role in how owls navigate. Now, that silent flight we were mentioning is not just a magical superpower, but there's a special feature on an owl that allows Thatcher to be as quiet as possible. And it's just like serrated edges or modified edges on his feathers. So I want you all to do me a favor. When you keep your hand low and you move your hand really fast up and down, you might feel a little bit more pressure, a little bit more wind. Now, when you open your fingers and you do the same movement, you may notice pressure, not as much wind passing through. So this second type of structure that your hand is doing is an excellent example of that serration or those open edges on an owl's feathers. Thatcher here has been a wildlife ambassador for many years here at Benbough Amphitheater. We've had the fortune of using positive reinforcement training and working on some of these unique and very natural flight paths with him. Adam mentioned that the eyes of an owl are quite different than ours. Their eyes are so large that they can be seen through the side of their ear if you looked through the side of their ear canal. Now, having such large eyes does mean that there isn't much room for anything else inside of that head of theirs, just like muscles. Without those muscles in their eye sockets, they can't move their eyes side to side without turning their head completely. So that's why you'll see Thatcher moving his head almost a full 360 degrees. Instead, he gets an impressive 270-degree rotation. That was a beautiful look at Thatcher, the milky eagle owl.
Yes, we absolutely work on all time here at Benbough Amphitheater. So we do our best to make sure that all of you get a chance to see these amazing wildlife. But we want to share the message that the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance is committed to saving wildlife worldwide by their expertise in wildlife care and conservation science and their dedication to inspiring a passion for nature. We integrate, collaborate, and inspire to help develop sustainable conservation solutions around the world. Conservation is at the heart of everything we do, but we can't do it alone.
That's right, we need dedicated allies like you. We could not do any of this without your support, so we're grateful for you joining us here at Benbough Amphitheater, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day at the safari park. And remember, when wildlife thrives, all life thrives. Thank you all so much. Enjoy your day.